Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adi, and today we have another San Diego Regional Team Report, and I'm joined by another top player. I'm joined by Gavin Michaels. How are you doing?
Hey, Audie. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Just got back from San Diego. I guess it's been a week now, and already missing Southern California as one does. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're missing torrential downpour.
is
Like
that is
it
it
is.
that bad out there?
It's probably not torrential, but like any amount of rain, if it's a light drizzle, I think of it as torrential.
Fair enough. Well, I guess we got there at the right time then.
Sorry, it's like one of those bad meme formats. It's just like, oh, rain in San Diego, rain in LA. Literally
I,
just that right now.
I feel that after moving to Texas from the north, everyone freaks out about a half inch of snow in kind of the same way.
Yeah. God,
Um,
I don't even know what snow looks like.
and you won't have to find out. But yeah, it's so. I guess for those who don't know you, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, I'm Gavin Michael. I'm playing this game for way too long, like over a decade now, and soon I'll been playing this game for over half of my life. Um, I've won Nats and I've won 3 regionals and a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Yes, you might recognize Gavin from hits such as top 12 in Players Cup, or and
Wow, did you really call it top 12?
I think you got top 12, right? Players
I
Cup
think
one.
oh God, I forgot. I hate double elimination. I hate that that's like a real thing you can get.
Yeah, no. When they asked me for my accomplishments when I was on stream, I said top 6 in Players Cup, and they gave me top 8, which is kind of sad.
They
Uh,
asked you for your accomplishments, dude. For my stream game,
Wait, they didn't? I know
no,
they put top 16 in Players Cup as one of them in Vancouver.
they wait. They put top 16 as Players Cup for one of my accomplishments. That's so
Yep.
stupid. What? I have I have 4 event wins. Just put one of those for each of them. I mean, did
Anyways,
they
you could see how Gavin, very accomplished player. Honestly, your team report with from that Players Cup run was maybe one of the most informative team reports we had on the channel. However, your microphone was awful at the time, so it was almost impossible to listen to, and it was that really sad because it is one of my favorite reports that we've recorded. Um,
Yeah, no,
but
you hear wisdom
anyways,
from the sound of like a McDonald's drive-through.
that's kind of what it sounded like. But yeah, okay. Let's talk about San Diego and a format that some people are actually playing. Maybe not everyone, but you got top 16 at the San Diego Regional Championships, the biggest
Yeah, just
regional
scroll a little.
since when you started playing, right? In
Yeah, it's the biggest regional since like 2010, back in the day when it was like a free tournament that like you was just best of one single elimination. And it's like the only way they could tell if you entered it beforehand was they put a stamp on your hand. So there were people who just like after losing would go to the bathroom and wash it off and then just go back in.
that's funny. Wait, these were single elim, right? So if you
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can just
You
enter
lose
twice.
around, you just go back. It's
That's
literally
funny.
like you just played whoever was next to you in line.
No wonder these tournaments lasted forever if that was the format. So the goal was really just to play as few games as possible, right? Just play like a stolly team.
Yeah, the goal of it was on it. No, no. How it was like there was like different tables for each round, where it's like these were the you haven't won any games tables. Then it's that you've won one game table, etc., etc. And then after enough, you get into the finalist lounge. Uh,
Okay.
then from there, yeah.
This is really interesting. I want to talk to you more about this at some point, but maybe not
Okay, okay.
In this team report.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. Let's talk about something that happened 10 years later in 2023, and Scarlet and Violet released, and you used a Palathin team that I
Mm-hmm.
have right here
Yep.
at the San Diego Regional Championships. How did you decide to run Palathin? Talk me through the first like month of this game's release and how you built for San Diego.
I think the most important thing in a first event of the format team is to have something that you really like and you vibe with and you think that you resonate with it and can make good decisions with that isn't the most common team, although we've seen in the past that that doesn't super matter. Like you can use the most common team if you're just that good at it. But I mean, this was frankly like first month of format was me just trying a little bit of everything and then deciding that like I don't know. As soon as I used Palafin for the first time, I was like, this mon is ridiculous. I'm gonna just continue to use it. And so like as soon as I like used it for the first time, I just decided to put all my eggs in that basket. The only 3 mons that have stayed the same throughout are the Palafin, the Pelipper, and the Amoongus. And I was just like, everything else is like kind of changed and gone. With like the Mons basically just coming on the team in the order with this realizing the Scarf Dango is very strong with it, and then realizing I needed the King Gambit to patch up matchups, and finally Dragonite came in like the last week basically. So I've tried a whole bunch of different Pokemon here, including like one point like Rain Skeledirge with Mirror Herb for the Dondosa matchup. Before I realized you could just start hitting it and it's fine. Yeah, I really like this game because you are just trying to pivot as aggressively hard as possible, which I think is it's really cool. And also, I think that a lot of people have trouble thinking in that way. And so it's like it's hard to think about Mons when it's like I can arrange my Pokemon to be like in the next turn on the field in any order that I want, right? And so
Mhm.
I get to go for like a lot of plays that like people just aren't going to see coming. I think that like one team that did this well in the past was Perish Song in 2018. That team had one signature move where after there was a Perish up and the Mega Gengar and the Incineroar both use Protect or whatever, the Mega Gengar would switch out and then the Incineroar would side U-turn and then bring the Mega Gengar back in. So basically maintaining the Perish trap on the board, right?
Mhm.
And basically just saying like, okay, I have the board position I want and don't really need to worry about protects. And it's just like, unless you specifically call that out, I am going to just win. And this team has like three different ways that it can do that, which is really fun. With obviously flip turn on the Palafin, but more unconventional choices are U turn on the Pelipper and eject back on the Amoonguss.
Yeah. I the jetpack was something you were hoping to style on stream. I don't know if you got to do
Yeah,
that or not.
I didn't. It's just I just didn't come up. But listen, I don't think Citrus would have won me any games, so it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. And so I guess on that note, do you want to talk me through the Pokemon and what they do and why you trained them the way you did?
Yeah, sure. So first up, Palafin. Mine is Choice Band Max Dumb. Like max attack, max HP, Unga Boonga. It is a Jet Punch bot. If I click something else besides Jet Punch, that is a little weird. But I click Jet Punch a lot, so it's really good at that. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of different ways you can go with Palafin, right? Like some of them aren't CB, some of them are going to be a bit faster in order to take advantage of specifically like tail end, and also being able to get a flip turn off before the opponent is able to do anything very impactful. For me personally, I just thought that Jet Punch was its most valuable move and wanted to get as much value out of that as possible. With Choice Band and Terra and Rain, and you just stack those modifiers, you can get one hit KOs on some of the most common Pokemon in the format. You can one shot Garchomp, you can one shot Goldengo, and that's crazy to me. So I figured that I just kind of wanted to go all in on that and worry less about like, yeah, I don't have other moves I want to click, but the one move I am clicking is really good. Um, the Pelipper is just designed to be like really, really bulky, with the idea being that I wanted it to just like in general like take hits. Like to be honest with you, it's a bulk dump, but it is like relatively useful when you take hits like Dondozo Wave Crash, right?
Mhm.
Or like I think that there's some mouse holds I can live a population bomb from, but don't quote me on that. Um, and it's just like okay, that extra bulk to just like create space or get a tailwind up, get a little bit of damage up, or you turn out and reposition my board a bit. Um, Among Us is eject pack because it's the coolest item. Um, what you're doing is basically saying that like, hey, Citrus Berry heals you 25%. Do you know what heals you 33%? Regenerator. So what it is basically like when you use Leaf Storm, you switch out so you're not stuck like being at -2, whatever. Activating Regenerator, healing more anyways. You can switch it back in later. And it also on this team, the main thing is it basically functions like a slow pivot mod. It's like you used like a slow U-turn or something, except it's on your Amoonguss. And I think we could all agree U-turn Amoonguss would be really cool. That's basically
Um,
what this tried to be.
and of course, this is open team sheet, right? So your opponent could see that you were jetpack. Did anyone ever manage to take advantage of that with like intimidate or snarl or something?
Yeah, it happened once. Billa used Icy Wind on it with his Tatsugiri and then actually waved bye-bye to it, which I thought was very funny. But besides that, that was about it. I think most people, more than anything, like forget that it's an option because it's like I mean, frankly, like we're handing these to each other like right beforehand. It's not something that you can be very conscientious of unless you have like specific eject pack game plans like laid out ahead of time. I think that like if it was my first round of opponent and cut or something, they could like take advantage of it. But besides that, I think that like a lot of the risk to it was overblown because it takes a while to think like, oh yeah, I can abuse that.
Mm-hmm. And like notably, if you're trying out this team, if you rage powder, they proc your eject pack. You don't redirect the second attack. So it is something that I'm sure you have to play very carefully around. But that being said, the upside of just getting a free switch out, maybe taking an attack, getting a free switch out, getting your Paladin in, for example, for free on turn 2 seems really, really high.
Yeah, it's you're able to just get a lot of momentum out of it, and basically it kind of just lets you constantly keep your foot on the gas and make it so that you never have like a lull turn where it's like, oh, my Mungus is in, but it's not immediately doing a whole lot. And then my opponent can kind of like set up around the fact that like, oh, I don't want to like have to switch in my Paladin and take damage. Instead, it's like, nope, I'm going back in. I'm going in like consistently with the Pelipper and with the Amogus. And then, yeah. The Amogus is Terra Ghost, which is a bit of an odd choice that I don't know if I really like. I ended up running it because I was really scared of Salazzle back Excalibur lines, and it felt like the only way to make that playable. It never really came up in tournament, so I don't really know how I feel about it. If someone wanted to make this steal, I think that's a fine option as well. And I think the EV spread is like, I don't know, I think it's just like a 2014 EV spread or something. I have no idea what it does.
It looks like, I imagine you hit the jump point in Spadef and dumped it in defense.
Yep, who needs anything else?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how all Mungus are EV'd, right? Like either a jump point in one of the stats and then dump in the other.
Yeah, and then the next one I want to talk about. So Goldango was really, really, really core to this team. It was one of my favorite mons to use. I had Trick at one point, but I really like this moveset in particular. What Goldango's job on this team is to die as quickly and as aggressively as possible. So a very, very common approach for me is to lead Palafin, Goldango, and just switch out the Palafin and click Make It Rain. And then say, like, either you are killing Goldango, in which case my Palafin is back in hero form, and all of your opponent mons are weakened and in range of Jet Punch, or you didn't kill my Goldango and I just clicked Make It Rain. Are you stupid? And either way, like, I'm happy. And you're basically just using it to create space for the rest of the team because Goldango is such a strong Pokemon, it immediately demands attention. I think that we've seen a couple of ways to kind of abuse this, right? So there's the nasty block Goldengos that we saw like Chuppa use, right? Where you're saying like, Goldango is such a threat. I'm going to put a lot of eggs in the Goldango basket so that it can pop off. There's GSOC who used like a hyper bulky Specs Goldango saying like, people are going to be like trying to deal with it, but they're not going to deal with it hard enough, and I'm going to punish them for that. And then this is me just saying, like, you need to deal with the Goldango anyways. Yeah, that's fine. Kill it. I don't care. I'm, like, getting enough value out of it regardless. It's also very useful for in late game cleaning up against Don Dozo with Thunder and against Mouse Ape stuff. If you Terra Steel Steel Beam, you always one-shot the Mousehold, and just a raw Steel Beam has a 62.5% chance to KO standard Mousehold, which is pretty funny. And it's just like, you don't care about losing half of your health from Steel Beam because, again, you're trying to die regardless.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a cool application of it. And especially since I feel like, if they don't KO your Goldango, it's kind of dead on the field, right? The second Make It Rain is a lot lower impact. So I imagine that, did it feel like you had the opportunity to switch it out after you click Make It Rain and they didn't KO it?
Yeah, because a lot of the other Pokemon on the team too, like, are okay. I'm also okay if they faint or they die, right? Like, I can be okay like switching out into the Pelipper, for example, and it's like, oh no, my Pelipper died. I don't care, right? And it's like, if they give me the room to like have a full HP Goldango for later, I'll use that. It's like, but it's like there's a lot of Pokemon on here that are just more okay, fine. That's another thing I should touch on too, which is Damp Rock on Pelipper, which I think is like by far the best item on it. I think some people like might think of as a little weird. You get so much value from just preventing your opponent from being able to spell out rain. And it just takes away like massive win cons from your opponent. And I think it's hard to recognize the value of it because when you're using it, like, it's not like people are able to like stall out the rain against you, right? So it doesn't really feel like you'd be like, oh my god, I want it because of Damp Rod. It's just like you're taking away options from your opponent, and you're making it so that if Pelipper dies, it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so crucial to the identity of the team. It'd just be like, I will sack everything and I will win 2v4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
King Gambit is the most boring Pokemon on the team. It is just there to basically be like a rock in otherwise difficult matchups. Like, namely against like Gyarados specifically is what it was on. It's just like, I'm so sick and tired of losing to it. And I felt that I needed 3 Spore immunities for this team because like it's a Palafin team. Everyone's bringing their Amoonguss against it anyways. So I need to make sure that no matter what, I don't even need to think about how I'm beating Amoonguss, right? Like it's just that all of my modes automatically do. And so it's like that's why I have the 3 Spore immunities and the 2 Hurricane mods. Besides that, yeah, I mean that's why it's safety goggles. Terra Ghost is probably suboptimal but really funny. Yeah, it's mainly useful for dodging like fake outs, and that's like the main advantage you get over it for like Terra Fairy or Terra Flying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not too much to say about that. And Dragonite was the last one I added onto the team. I just finally gave it a try because I knew a lot of people in Tub were really liking it for a while, specifically Nails and Alex. And then when I slapped it on, I was just really surprised because I didn't realize that it was the Dondozo counter. Like I was literally running Mirror Herb Skeleturge, and this stupid Dragonite was doing better in that matchup than it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, notably, like you can abuse Unaware because you can click Draco Meteor multiple times if you need to. The Hurricanes just do a ton of damage with this set. I mean, it does just have a crazy special attack stat. I think Jody ran something very similar with Salamence on his team that got top 4. So
what Dragonite has is multi-scale, meaning you are never, ever, ever getting one shot by it. And that is so big. And like you kind of just use Dragonite in a ton of matchups where it's like, I mean, it's just a value mon. Like they need to throw in 2 attacks in order to knock it out. And it's like you really denying their fast like attackers because it's like they can't do anything to it. They need to spend the time to like break the multi-scale. And meanwhile, you can just like 1-2 punch anything with like a Hurricane Extreme Speed or a Draco Meteor Extreme Speed. It's just like, I don't know. It's just very, very reliable. And like, yeah, I can talk a bit more about the Dondozo approach with it too. Because like, I'd say like that's where Dragonite was really the star.
Go for it. Yeah.
You're basically just saying like, in order to kill Dondozo, I need to get 2 Thunders or Terraflying Hurricanes off, and then a little bit of extra chip damage. And then you're basically trying to figure out like how to best do that. For this team, what you do primarily is abuse multi-scale on the Dragonite, say that that's always getting a hit off, and then either you're getting a Tailwind up with Pelipper to guarantee that extra hit, or just a little bit of chip so that Goldango can hit it with a Thunder later on, or use a Moongus to protect the Dragonite. But it's really just about like making sure that you're able to like properly preserve multi-scale on it, because losing multi-scale actually makes like Dondozo pretty terrible. And you basically have to call then if they're going to be wave crashing or order upping your Dragonite, which isn't fun. But if you use like your limited resources right, I would say that the matchup is like somewhat positive.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. It definitely. I mean, this team has just got so much damage, especially on the special side, other than the Palafin, and so you really can just kind of overpower the Dozo. Did you feel like there were any other matchups that you really needed to have very specific game plans for?
I mean, I went into it with some like general sense of like what I wanted to do against like Mouse Ape, right? Because I mean, let's be real, we all did. Every single person in the tournament like had like those ideas of like, what am I going to do if like I see the Mouse Ape? For that, I have the cool lines of either the Goldango like Steel Beam lines, like I said, or just leading Pelipper Dragonite. Because what's really stupid is that if they beat up and then Rage Fist your Dragonite, you live it because multi-scale is an absurd ability. And so you can just abuse that to like tank the hit. And so it's like, you know, either like Palafin, Dragonite, and then like Hurricane, and then you can Jet Punch it later, or you can just lead like Pelipper, Dragonite, Tailwind, Hurricane. It's just like everything is just so safe into it. which is really nice. I'd say that those are the only things that I had like really clear cut game plans for, but there were some other tough matchups. Baxcalibur was a Pokemon that like I knew like going into this that I was going to be weak to, especially Terra Water Baxcalibur, just because like I can't really hit it that hard outside of like Thunder on Goldengo, and so my main game plan against it was literally to try to like hard call it Terra Watering, like, and instead of make it raining into it, clicking Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of like the only approach I had, just because like Glaive Rush was so hard for it. But I will say like it does depend on like their teams, right? Because like not all of them have like the ice move, and if they don't have the ice move, then obviously Amoonguss is a lot better into it.
Right. Yeah, G-Sock, of course, had Icicle Spear, which is very different from the Ice Shard variants that probably don't do nearly as much to Amoonguss.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I don't know. I guess it's kind of tricky to just be like I think that one characteristic about the format is that there's a lot of like two mon cores, right, or like Monster Kid synergy that are slapped together, but it's even just a change of one mon can really change how you approach the matchup. So I think it's difficult to go into it with like, oh, if I see this, I'm always doing why, and it's more so just like I have like my general approaches, and I kind of just try to like stick around those. I'd say that my most
Yeah.
common leads were like Palafin Goldango and Palafin Dragonite, with like Pelipper, Amoonguss, and back, and then it's like King Gambit comes if you need it to, but like you're hoping to not bring the King Gambit unless you really have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And so one thing I noticed at your team that's very different from a lot of the other teams that did well, looking at Maluka's team, looking at Jody's team, James Evans' team, the team that Angel and I used, we all really relied on defensive terras. We had, I think, 5 defensive terras on those teams. And you are on the opposite side. You have 3 Pokemon that have very aggressive offensive terra types. How did you feel about that, and what did you normally terra in your games?
Yeah. I mean, I did like Terra the offensive mons like pretty much most of the time. I think that probably the defensive Terras are overall stronger, but I liked how the offensive Terras just gave me a bit more range in order to do stuff. When you're giving like an offensive Terra to an already very, very strong Pokemon, it can feel just over the top. And like, I don't know. I think that I think that for this team, like it was only ever winning games by putting the foot on the gas. I never had like spots where I can just like set up like defensive traps, right? Like I don't have wide guard on Pelipper because I'm like I feel like it's kind of a trap to just be like, oh, and now I'm safe and they can't do
Mhm.
anything. It's like I just have to continuously like keep going and press my like foot on the gas. And so I felt like offensive terrors that just like let me do even more damage was important. It's like I kind of needed to like lean into that team identity. Otherwise, like I was just like never going to be doing enough, was my thought. I also felt that like with Goldengo and Dragonite, they're kind of defensive terrors sometimes, not really, but you can argue it. And so it's really just Palafin where it's like I'm going all in on being Palafin, but it's like if you're going choice band, you kind of have to be already.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you're stacking the multipliers on it with Rain, with Choice Band, with Terra Water. Um,
Yeah,
I know you had a Helping Hand on an earlier edition on Pelipper, and
yeah. It's not like I don't know, like Helping Hand is it's not too great. I feel just because like Palafin's already one hit KOing everything. What do you
Mhm.
want to do? One hit KO it more? Like
I want a one hit KO Mungus.
yeah, you already do that. Just click Wave Crash.
That's true, and that is also pretty crazy. Uh,
Yeah, you literally one shot most Amoonguss.
yeah. Uh, I mean, yeah, that just goes to show you the power of Palafin and what like the full range of what it can do if you give it all of the multipliers, all the stats.
Yeah,
Um, it's just one punches everything.
pretty much.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess on that note, do you want to tell me about some of the more notable matches that you played in your tournament run?
Yeah, I think that like one of the more interesting matchups I had was against like Villa in just sorry, he I don't know if yeah. So he was using like a like relatively like for this tournament standard Dondozo team and with some extra tricks to like make it hard. Um the reason I kind of want to highlight this one is in this match, I noticed something interesting that people were doing with team sheets, and I really exploited that. What I realized is that when people like with the open team sheets, right? Like people don't have time to process all the information on it, right? So it's like you use it as a reference. And the thing is, people are very clear visually when they look at the team sheet because like you pull it up, you look at a specific thing, and like you can be it's kind of like really clear like when someone is looking at it. So it's like if someone like very suddenly like takes the time to just look at a specific thing, in my mind I immediately go, what play were they thinking of that made them look at this? So what I noticed was against Billa, at one point he led like Annihilate into King Gambit. And then like I saw him immediately reach for the team sheet and look at it. And it made me think of two things. One, either he was looking for my Terra type or he was looking to see if I had Protect on King Gambit. And I was like, when you're looking for those two, you're trying to see like, hey, is Drain Punch safe into it? And he probably realized probably not. So I was able to take that and go like, okay, I don't have to protect here because he's not, and he's like very, very aware of that it's not safe. And then I was right. And so like, it was just like a little thing that I was able to use like carry forward throughout the tournament. But that was like the biggest example where I noticed it and like capitalized on it.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing that I think you mentioned like earlier today in our chat, and I had not considered that at all. I did not use that at all, and I definitely want to see if I can try to use that. People have talked about how you have to wear masks at the tournaments, right? And so you don't get to read like facial expressions as much. You don't have to worry about keeping a poker face. Not that I think that was something that a lot of players did very effectively, but checking for team sheets is definitely much more of a tell than most facial expressions before a turn.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other things too with like the open team sheets. Like, I really hate it how it's an advantage to have a crumpled team sheet because like it just makes it harder to look at it. And it's like I definitely had opponents like handling crumpled team sheets, and I just like totally missed stuff on it because it's just like I didn't notice it at a glance because it just doesn't stand out as much. Which like I don't know. It's like how do you matter of like being like very deliberate with like reading and processing the information, which is hard.
Right. We were joking about after the lunch break, someone coming back with a food smeared team sheet, coffee, spilling their coffee on the team sheet, whatever like that. And I didn't have anything that bad happen to me, but definitely the crumpled team sheets were more annoying. And I don't know if you took one of the limited papers that we had that Justin was handing out to us.
I was like, why would I give myself a disadvantage? Like my team sheet quality was like pretty nice. I don't think anyone was like upset at me for it, but I'm like, I'm not gonna like deal with all that length for it. You know what I mean?
That's fair. I don't know. I would hope that I really hope that they like. I don't know. I guess it's more work for the organizers, but it'd be cool if they eliminated them and made them a little nicer so that you don't have to really worry about that. My round one opponent handed me a team sheet that was folded up, and I was like, already
in round one?
Yeah,
crazy.
But yeah, I feel that. Any other notable matches that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I played an exact mirror twice. Which I didn't really expect. I was like very like visible with the team, but like I like to talk about the match against Donald, where like we use the same thing. One thing I didn't realize is that the mirror match for this is like weirdly complicated, and you can bring pretty much everything. It's just that like Palafin feels like the one must bring because otherwise the team like really can't beat King Gambit. Which but like every single other Pokemon was like brought to that mirror. It was like I don't know. I don't know if it's weird to like out that mirror, but it was like weirdly enjoyable and just like not something that I had considered before the tournament. I mean, there was a lot of people who did well that were using the same exact 6 because I was very visible on ladder with it, right? Like
right.
I hit like
this was the second most common group of 6 Pokemon that got championship points, I think.
Yeah, and it's like I hit second on ladder with it on Showdown, and then I think people just like realized that and started to like take it, which like fair. I don't know. That was on me for like not like tanking my ladder rating or like I don't know. It's just kind of great. It's just such a good feeling when you're clicking buttons and you hit 2,000. You're like, yay! I don't know.
I mean, this is the type of team that is very easy to play on ladder because the games go so quickly, and it's easy to play another one. And also, of course, Maluka did win the tournament and did like top the ladder like 4 times with this team. So it doesn't really matter if
Yeah,
people pay attention as long as you know how to play it better than anyone else.
yeah. I guess the one last match I would like to talk about is like I did play G-Sock in Swiss. He was my one Swiss loss. That guy is so good. He shadow snuck my King Gambit twice to avoid Sucker Punch, where it's just like hard red that like I was like going for like Sucker Punch instead of Iron Heading on it, and it's just like into that. I'm like, how do you do that? The dude's like a no, dude's too good. Like, is the main thing. Of just like, he's the only person I feel this tournament who just like felt like, all right, I gotta play a lot better like to beat this.
Yeah. He's insane. He is maybe the best player in the world right now. Just with the way he's playing and how consistently he's been doing well, even in Sword and Shield. I'm really excited that he's starting to play real life events because he's one of the best players out there right now.
And also, I had him as my smart money going into this tournament. The most important thing.
Well, you didn't come on Top Takes to share your smart money, so no one can actually verify that. As compared to me, who went on and said that you were my smart money, and then you got knocked out. So, really making me look stupid out here.
Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about my last match up to against James. I had like Elisa helped me like come up with a pretty solid like game 1 game plan here, where I just like pretty much exactly called exactly what he was going to do turn 1, which was like he's going to lead Hydreigon Rotom, he's going to Draco Meteor Volt Switch out, and this is how I'm going to punish it. And then for games 2 and 3, I didn't really have a game plan. I kind of just figured like I barely won game 1 with like I was like I needed to not get flinched by 2 Dark Pulses. I thought the margins were small, and I thought that like if we went into the same thing, he would tighten it up and do it. So I decided to go with more Palafin-centric approaches, which didn't work well. I think that for game 2, it really showed that I was kind of like. I think that for game 2, I went for more than a hope than a read, where I led Palafin and into the Rotom Age, and I was like, oh, if he doesn't Terra his Rotom, then I can just kill it with Baby Palafin, and then I'd have a really easy game. And it's like not even like a thing where it's like I'm sure he's not going to see this coming or whatever. It's just kind of like I hope he doesn't because that would make my life easier.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he does. And yeah, and it's just like I don't know, like punish for like trying to just find like an easy way out. I think game 3 I go with like a more like normalish Palafin approach that lots of stuff didn't quite work out. His Hydreigon was bulkier than I thought it'd be for sure. And same with the Rotom Age. I kind of went into it like assuming it'd be glass Rotom Heat, and it was not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It was a match where I felt like I definitely like could have like won if I was playing sharper and just like not like I don't know, like not like going all in on so many of the turns where I was going like, okay, I'm 100% hard calling this play, and I'm not really leaving myself any room for error. It's just like that's gonna lose you games, And like,
Yeah.
And I think that like for me, I need to like improve on like stamina for these longer tournaments, just because like the 10 rounds of day 1 like really knocked me out.
Yeah, it was definitely a grind. I mean, I feel that too. I went 7-1 to 7-3, so I definitely know what you mean in terms of how exhausting it can be. And if you want to hear more about your match versus James, if you, the viewer, wants to hear more, I assume you don't want to hear more, Gavin. James is also coming on the channel. I'm not sure which order the team reports will release in, but he's also got a team report coming out soon about his team, where he goes into detail about your matchup. One of the interesting things he said was that game 2, you both terra'd the Rotom and Palafin turn 1, and that was what told him that his Rotom was faster, because Cedric's Palafin I think was faster than his Rotom, and that seemed like a really important dynamic, since otherwise it kind of decides who can flip turn, if you can flip turn or if you can have the Jet Punch. So that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's fair actually, because like after the game, like I assumed the whole time that he'd be faster, but then afterwards I was like thinking, could I have been faster? But I like actually missed that note entirely. So fair to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's a Thank you for the overview of the run. It was a really impressive run. Again, losing only to the defending North American champion and then Maluka, who of course won the entire tournament. No shame in that. It's a really, really impressive run with a very cool team, a very different take on Palafin compared to what we saw Jowdy running earlier with his like Mystic Water set. And it kind of shows you the range of different options that this Pokemon can run and how successful it can be. Even though honestly, you guys have pretty similar teams other than the Palafin.
I know, like you look at it and it's like, oh yeah, no, it's which dragon flying mon do you prefer? Like they look so similar. It's just stupid, even though like I don't know. Like I think like the only set we had in common was the Pelipper, right?
Mm-hmm. I think he didn't have U-turn either. I think he had something else.
Yeah, probably wide guard because U-turn's kind of a stupid move, but it's a fun one.
Yes, he had wide guard. I mean, his team was a little more defensive. Your team is kind of going all in, a little more hyper offensive. But I mean, it also was just kind of cool to see Pelipper, King Gambit, Amoonguss, Goldango was on so many of the top cut teams. It was just everywhere this tournament. Put a water type next to it to abuse the rain. But that was really the flavor of the week, kind of the team that broke out this tournament. And you had one of the more interesting takes on it. And if you're interested in kind of clicking buttons a little bit and you want to ladder with this team, I definitely recommend you try it out because I've tested it out a couple times. It is one of the most fun teams to play in this format, even though it wasn't right for me. Those are all the questions that I have. Did you have any final words or shout outs that you wanted to give?
No, I just want to give like a shout out to Lisa for all the help and support this weekend. Shout out to Chuppa for like the crazy run. And shout out to Donald for like using the team with me and like committing to it. It's a lot more fun when like you're at a tournament and someone else is using the team, even if you got to end up playing each other.
Yeah, I can't believe, two people using the team out of 550 or whatever it was, and you happen to face each other.
Right? Crazy.
But I mean, Donald also did very well with it. He went 7-3, just to win away from top cut. And of course, if you guys hadn't played each other, then maybe he does end up top cutting. So this is the second time you guys have played at a tournament, right? And you knocked him out of cut.
Yeah, no, it's stupid, right? Well, I didn't knock him out of cut. I made him X2. So I didn't do the D. I don't know. He had a crazy run too. He lost to like me, Emilio, and I think it was like Chongjin.
Okay, yeah.
He lost to exclusively like past regional winners. I don't know. This story. I don't know. This kind of goes to show like how like silly the top 32 cut is after just like the one day thing, because it's like I don't know, like stuff like that happens,
Yeah, and I mean, even though some X3s made cut, he lost to 3 just elite players, and he was like 50th place or something. Like didn't even have incredible resistance just because of how random resistance ends up being.
Yeah, exactly. It's goofy. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. I appreciate you coming on the channel and talking about this cool team. I know you put a lot of work into it, and I look forward to seeing what you have. You're not coming to Orlando, right?
No, I'm not. I'm going to Australia.
You're going to Australia. Well, I look forward to seeing what you have brewed up for the Oceanic Championships. Maybe some more Palafin action, maybe something else. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, thank you. So am I. As Series 2 teams, please message me at ComVGC.
Yeah, the link to the pace will be in the description, as will Gavin's socials. So you could definitely go give him a follow if you haven't already. He's more famous than I am. I don't know why you wouldn't be following him. He's been on the channel like 8 times now. Yeah, and that's all I got. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.